So today we're going to be looking at the biggest challenges that happen in contests. But realize this big challenge is also a challenge in club meetings. So what we look at this is also applies for those who are not in contests but are doing speech. Now the last educational moment I did, we looked at why do contests. Does anybody remember some of the things I said about that? Because I have quite a few years of experience with this. What did I share? What were some of the things?
The exact words?
Not exact words, just give me your, what do you remember?
Have fun.
Have fun.
To evolve.
To improve your abilities, right?
Improve your abilities.
To get
Exit your comfort zone.
Get out of your comfort zone.
to get exposure in for public speaking.
Get rid of anxiety.
Right. Exactly. This is what we're going to look at. For one of the things I shared last time is that doing contests offers you opportunities to have bigger challenges than you would in a club setting. Okay? Because like I said, eventually you can go to the district level, which in our district is 9 countries, and you can compete in front of over 100 people. Okay? That's pretty intense. So these are good experiences for growth, right? Because what happens? The bigger the challenges, the more opportunity there is for growth. Correct? But is it easy? No. So what is the biggest challenge in doing contests? And probably even doing speeches. As Alex said, it's dealing with anxiety or fear or nerves. Whatever you want to call it, that's what it is. That's the thing. Now, how many here have struggles with that? When you get in front of people and you have to talk, you're shaking or whatever else is going on? Well, let me ask you. See, we don't have anybody here but Alex who's competing. Alex, what is it like to compete in contests? Is it much harder? I mean, the intensity of all these feelings go up when you compete in contests?
I can just say that I competed on the club level and I didn't have any anxiety. Then on the area level, where you see, let's say, 30, 40 people from multiple clubs, no anxiety. And then I got to the division level, where I had 100 people in front of me. I was on the stage and I had a mic, and I froze. I can still remember the topic. I was supposed to improvise on a topic which sounded like convinces you wearing a Halloween costume. I will never forget that topic because I froze halfway through, and it was probably the worst table topic I've ever done. But it was a great opportunity. The next time I was in front of an audience like that, I felt a lot at ease with the audience.
So anyway, these kind of experiences, that's why I encourage everybody that's a member to do contests, even if you're not ready for it actually with your skill level, because just getting in front and doing it in a contest situation will make doing speeches in the regular club meetings seem like a piece of cake, all right? So that's why it's good to do it. Now, a lot of times people, when they experience these feelings, you know what they like to do? Quit! I don't want to have anything to do with this. And that was me in college. I had some very bad experiences in speaking in front of people. So after that, I just said, no way, Jose. I'm not going to speak in front of people if I can help it. And eventually I went to Bible college to get a master's in biblical studies. And I had to take a preaching class one semester each of 3 years. So for 3 years I had to take a class in this. And the very first time I had to get a mini sermon of 10 minutes, I didn't do it. Because the night before, I spent most of the night vomiting into the toilet. That's how bad I was back then. Okay? That's how intense the fear was for me. But I got through it. And you know why? Because if I wanted to graduate, I had to do the class. So it forced me. And over time, months and months, it actually started getting easier. Before I had this fixed mindset that I would never change. But then I realized that you can actually grow and get over that. Then when I come to Toastmasters and started competing, this was taking it to a whole extreme level compared to what I did before. And after doing those experiences, most of the time, not all, but most of the time I can go anywhere, and I'm pretty calm. Because after doing intense contests in front of 300-400 people, this is a piece of cake, doing things like this, all right? So you get used to doing certain things. But like I said, some people avoid it. You don't want to avoid these feelings. Why? I like this quote. I actually did a speech on it one time. Our fears establish the limits of our lives. When we let our fears control us, it limits us greatly. If we overcome those fears, whoa, those limits go way out there. So you don't want to avoid this. So when we're in this situation, when we're feeling this way, what's going on physically with our bodies? Well, first of all, there's a lot of hormones coming out. The body's creating. Our brainstem, which they call the lizard brain, is in fight or flight mode. And it'll produce things like cortisol. Now, you get enough cortisol in your brain, you know what just happens to some people? They go blank. Huh? It does have that impact on it. Then there's adrenaline. And this is the one most of us have to deal with when we get in front. Because your heart starts beating really fast, you're sweating, all these things are going on. But we have to learn to overcome those. Now, can anybody tell me kind of what they've ever experienced when they've been in front? What kind of effects have the adrenaline had on them when you speak? Has anybody had any impact like this?
Dry mouth.
Dry mouth?
Sweatiness.
Sweatiness? Shaking?
Sticky palms.
Sticky palms? Feelings like, I don't want to be here, get me out of here. Beat me up, Scotty. All right, so for me, I can remember one of the first things is I have an issue with my thyroid. I'm hypothyroid, so I take synthetic hormone every day. Now I take a little bit more than I need to because I do not like the way I feel if it's below the amount I need. I get very down and very angry, so I don't like those feelings. So I always usually have a little bit more than I need. But you take having that and adding adrenaline to it, oh, I had all kinds of struggles when I started competing in contests, all right? It took me years to get over some things, especially, this was the worst one. For me, it was dry mouth. My adrenaline would be pumping so hard. But most of the times when I would compete in contests, I would just have water there to deal with it. But then, I made it to the district level, and Alex was there. He witnessed this, all right? I get up there and I'm going, and there's over 300 people there, and the adrenaline was just pumping so hard. I went over to get a drink of water. I took the water, drank it, put it down, and I still had dry mouth. Because it was so intense. And so the rest of the speech, and I was so embarrassed. And I go sit down when I'm done and go, can I dig a hole or something? Get away from here. So that was the beginning of a challenge for me. I mean, a really big one. And it took a long time for me to get over it. And today I'm going to share some of the things I did to overcome it. So I'm not sharing you theory here. I'm sharing you things I tried and experimented with in order to get over that. And I had other things too. When you have thyroid condition, you're taking synthetic hormone. When you go to the endocrinologist, when he checks you, the first thing he does is say, put out your hands. He wants to see how much you're shaking. Because that's normal if you have this condition, all right? So when I was doing, speech evaluation contests and I'd have my notes, and people would see my hands like this, they would think I was really nervous, but it wasn't. So when I got smart, I started using a clipboard so people couldn't tell. So you start learning how to adapt. So here we go. So what are some of the big challenges we have? How do we get over these things? I like the motto, the unofficial motto of the United States Marine Corps. I like how they say how to overcome these challenges in life. They say, improvise, adapt, overcome. So this is what you do. Something comes up, you gotta figure out how to get over it, improvise something different. You have to adapt as you go because if that doesn't work, you gotta try something else. But the goal is to overcome things. By the way, this is a plug for next week. This is the theme for next week's meeting, by the way. Okay, just so you know. All right, so to start with, here's what I suggest you do if you have problems. First of all, you go seek advice from more experienced people. Then you go online and do some research. What do I do if I go blank in my brain and, whatever it is, you go look it up and then you try something and see if it works. So this improvising, adapt, overcome, this is the thing we're going to continually work on. But today, from this, I'm going to share what I learned from doing these things. Now, some things I tried helped me a little bit, and some things helped me more. And so I'm going to start with the things that help me a little bit. Okay, and this was visualization. And most of us probably do know what visualization is. That we calm ourselves down and visualize us being in front of everybody, calm. And everybody going, wow, ooh, he is awesome. You understand? These are the things we want to visualize. Because that's not what we usually visualize when we're in front of people. We're thinking, I'm going to make a mistake and everyone's going to be laughing at me. So it's changing how we look at things and visualization. Now for me, this actually helps more the night before and early in the morning. Because sometimes when you get ready the night before, you have a hard time sleeping because you're thinking about everything that's going to happen in the contest. Or when you get up in the morning, right away, your nerves start kicking in a little bit because you know today is the day. Right? So this is the time for me that I would do visualization stuff. For me, when I get to the contest and there's people all around and things, that's a very hard time to visualize for me. Okay? Music can help a lot too. So this could be the night before, in the morning, even up close to the time. When you do music that either calms you down or like it's your favorite, it kind of just pumps you up, but in a way it calms you at the same time, right? So we can use music like that. Or singing. Singing, actually singing yourself can create certain good hormones in your body to overcome the bad ones. Exercise. If you got a lot of adrenaline, exercise. Now, of course, you're not going to do that right before you get up in front of the audience, but maybe an hour or so before, if you got a place, you can do some push-ups or you can do something, jumping up and down like this. You're just trying to get rid of some of that adrenaline in your body. You can do things like that. Now, the most effective things for me were the following. Smiling. Did you know smiling helps you to connect with people, right? But did you know that smiling produces certain hormones that are positive hormones that counteract the bad hormones? Did you know that? Okay, yeah, at least someone did, yeah. I went and researched that and I was like, wow, okay, so smiling is good. But what's even better than smiling? Laughing, all right? Laughing even produces more. So what I would do when I would go to a humor speech contest and I was like the fourth or fifth person, I would laugh extra hard when the other people did the funny parts of their thing to help me get those good hormones in my body. So when I got up there, I'd be better off. Now here's what we have to really deal with. At least I did. I'm sure I'm hoping that a lot of people are not any different than me. But it's self-talk. Okay? Self-talk. What we're saying. Because what I'm saying before contests when I first started, oh my God, why did I sign up to do this? I'm going to make a fool out of myself. I'm going to embarrass myself. But what is going to happen afterwards when everybody sees how terrible I am? Do you think that kind of talk helps you? No. That kind of talk actually helps produce the cortisol and the adrenaline. Okay? So instead of saying, I'm afraid, or I'm scared, or things like that, what do you say instead of that? I'm excited. Even if you're afraid, what do you say? Everybody say it to me. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
I'm not convinced. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
That's better. That's what you say out loud or to yourself throughout the morning or before you do the contest. Or if you're doing a speech in a club or a speech somewhere else. If someone says, how are you doing? I'm excited. Okay? Now, usually when I would finish at the beginning, when I first started doing contests, when I got done, I go, oh man, I'm glad that's over. I'm never going to do anything like that again. That was a terrible experience. Okay? Do you want to say that? No. Here's what you say. That was great. Okay, let's hear this loud now. That was great.
That was great.
Let's say, I'll say it first, and you say it after me. That was great.
That was great.
All right? And then use your fist and pump yourself up. Okay? Another thing that helps before the contest is saying different mantras to yourself. So this is just to get your mind kind of focused and centered on what you're about to do. But it's a way of calming you down at the same time. You can take some breaths as well, but we'll talk about breathing in a minute. All right? So here's one of them. Right? This is what I'm saying to myself in a humor speech contest beforehand. I'm saying, have fun. Make them laugh. Change the world. Because in my humor speeches, I always had a point to try to make their life better in some way. So these are the kind of things I would say to myself before I did the humor speech contest. Now here's just the international speech contest. Enjoy the moment. Speak from the heart. Change lives. So these are kind of mantras I would say when I competed. Now last week I shared something because I gave some feedback about how I think it's much better to use black or dark backgrounds on your slides as opposed to white. So I'm doing this as an experiment from last week, okay? From that. Okay, everybody's looking at that? Now you're going to see the same thing with white. Okay. Did you notice any change in your eyes? Right, but that's kind of unfair because your eyes were adjusted. But keep looking at that. Imagine looking at something like slides like this for a half hour or an hour. Okay? Now, your eyes have adjusted by now, so let's go back to, is that not easier on your eyes? It relaxes. So I encourage people to use dark backgrounds with white text as opposed to the other way. So that's just something for your benefit. Now the most important thing, or the most helpful thing I found was breathing exercises. Now the reason I have the military on this is because the United States Navy SEALs have developed a breathing technique for the men when they're out in battle. It's sometimes it's called the box breathing or 4x4x4x4. Okay? But what it is you breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. But we're going to just practice that really quick. Okay? So you ready? Okay, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, and then you just you do that a couple of times. And breathing really seems to have a huge impact on relaxing you. So this is probably the most effective thing I've ever found doing it. Oh, but there was one more thing I discovered later on that helped me with dry mouth, was chewing gum before the contest. Because you stimulate the saliva, and so I would chew right up until the time I had to go up front and put it down. And one time I was at a contest at the district level, and this guy came up to me and he goes, "How do you deal with dry mouth?" He says, "I'm having a hard time." And I said, "I chewed gum beforehand." He goes, "Oh, right, very good, I'll try it." So he did it, and after the contest were over, I asked him, how did it do? He said, "That really helped me a lot." And he won, he beat me. And I helped him, which is okay. So these are some of the key things you can do. But here's a few other things to be implied or to understand. The better prepared you are, the more confidence you'll have. Okay? So the amount of preparation you do is going to have a big impact on how you feel when you get up in front as well. Situational practice. After I had these problems at the district level, what I would do after the divisionals until the district, I would go to Bucharest and I'd go to 3 or 4 clubs in Bucharest and do it there. I'd come here, I would go to some IT firms and practice my speeches in front of a bunch of people, like 40 people, right? Or go to the Transylvania Club. So find situations that are as close as you can get to what you're going to compete in. Of course, I can't find any place most of the time I'm going to find 100 people. But finding people you don't know, finding a group of people, these are kind of things, if you do that beforehand, will go a long ways to helping you. All right, experience. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Unfortunately, most people, they quit right away, so they never get to this point to find out. So be sure that you don't quit. And one last thing about this is what you focus on. If you're focused on yourself the whole time, you're always going to have problems. If you can get over yourself and get your focus on your audience and helping them, the more you do that, the easier it gets for you to do it. So we don't have much time for quick question and answer, but 1 or 2 questions. Anybody got a question?
What was the biggest crowd that you spoke in front of?
300 some people, between 300 and 400. I don't know. But our district used to be way bigger. It was one of the biggest in the world, and they divided it into 3 districts. So now it's only around 100 or so. But it used to be a lot bigger.
What was your biggest failure in public speaking?
was doing the district contest and having my mouth where I couldn't hardly even talk. That was very embarrassing. But there's other times I totally just went blank, okay? So I've had several of these type of embarrassing situations. But you get over them, okay? All right, so we go here. So I want to tell you, when you experience these things, don't let it freak you out. Don't give up, all right? Improvise, adapt, overcome. If you do, it will change you. Not only will it change you in a kind of like a overall way, but it will give you courage, it will give you confidence, and it will build your character. And these things, these qualities, will help you to expand your life rather than limit it. So go for it. Thank you very much.